Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez is taking place over the weekend. It's headlining the UFC Houston card that's going on, and it's going to be a great fight between two amazing middleweight fighters, both at the tip of the spear, at the top of the division. Former champion in Sean Strickland, and then Anthony Hernandez, who's riding an 8-fight winning streak, looking phenomenal in all of his fights. I wanted to break down this main event, though, just because I feel like a lot of people have this one wrong. I see Strickland being counted out by many just because of him getting taken down in moments of the DDP fights and the Usman fights, or Hernandez being talked about like he's going to absolutely dominate and destroy Strickland due to that 8-fight winning streak. But there's a couple of really good wins in there. But the thing is that I feel like everyone's got this one wrong. Strickland's only losing to the best guys. He never gets held down, and he's got the skills to win this one. He's not going to just get dominated by Anthony Hernandez. Whereas Hernandez himself is a little bit untested, and he has not really many really impressive wins over really good guys, apart from Brendan Allen, who Strickland also has a win over. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think. Like, stylistically, it's a very tricky matchup for both guys. Strickland's sort of got like that upright style. He's always got the Philly shell going on, and he doesn't really throw heat. Like, he's constantly flicking out the jab. He's tagging you. He's probably going to mark Hernandez up pretty quick. But there's not really any variation in Sean Strickland's punches, or even just shots in general. All that's coming at you is going to be a teep, it's going to be a jab, and maybe a leg kick out of nowhere, or like a straight right hand. Strickland's a very simple fighter. He does this basics, but he does them well. Whereas Hernandez, he's known as a really good wrestler. He's got great cardio, but he's quite soft-bodied. He also has no heat in his hands like Sean Strickland. And the thing is with Hernandez, he relies so heavily on his takedowns and his cardio. And he does have a bit of a lack of experience. Like, if you look at some of Anthony Hernandez's matchups in the past, he doesn't really have the most star-studded people on his resume there. Not only is it because he hasn't had the opportunity yet, but it's also because in some of the fights, he hasn't looked the most impressive. All the guys that he's beaten have come out to lose the next couple of fights, so it's a less impressive win to end with. But if we're talking about the fight, Sean Strickland has got all the tools to beat Hernandez, and the same thing back to Strickland. I think it's a bad matchup for both guys. Sean Strickland, he's got the really good takedown defense. He doesn't overextend a lot, so for Hernandez, the takedowns are going to be quite hard to get. And then Strickland's also ridiculously durable, only getting finished by guys like Alex Pereira and a spinning wheel kick from Alessio Zaleski dos Santos. You know how good Strickland is, and he is just that tip of the spear type fighter. He's got the great cardio, he's very experienced, he's fought good guys. He's very calm in the octagon as well, and if you look at how Hernandez thrives, he thrives when his opponent's in panic. He thrives when his opponent's getting gassed out in round one after getting taken down and mauled a few times. He focuses on overwhelming you with his unlimited cardio, and he's very durable himself. But he's got really good submissions, and his positional grappling is going to be a real problem for Sean Strickland if Strickland is getting taken down. Now, when I think about like the specific things both guys need to do to win, there is quite a few things both guys can do. Like, if we're talking about with Strickland, he's a very simple fighter, and he does some things very well. You know he's going to come out there and jab and teep for 5 rounds. Like, that's not a debate. He's not going to veer away from the game plan, start throwing head kicks every now and then. He is just going to throw the jab and the teep like usual. And honestly, in this matchup, it really could work for him. But the main thing that I think Strickland needs to do, and it's a chronic issue with how he fights, is he needs to add like an uppercut or a straight after that jab, like every 3, 4, 5 times he throws it. Like, even if it was every 5 times Strickland jabs that he threw a shot like that, you would know eventually he's going to be able to get it done. Like, he's eventually going to be able to beat you up to a point where you can't take any more shots. But when it's just the jab, you can eventually just start slipping the jab, landing over the top. If Strickland's not following up with anything, you know he's going to throw the first strike, you're going to throw the second and the third and the fourth. He's not going to counter back. He's not a counter striker. And if he is, it's a little rabbit punch whilst he's leaning backwards. Like, he's literally like, he's never putting steam when he's going backwards. Now, against Anthony Hernandez, one thing he needs to do if he's going to throw that hook or the uppercut afterwards, or even if he's going to go for like a double jab straight, he needs to change the frequency of his shots. One thing that Anthony Hernandez's opponents all have in common, if I have a look at them here, is that look at Roman Dolidze, Brendan Allen, Michel Pereira, Roman Kopylov, Edmund Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barriault, Josh Friend. Like, none of these guys ever throw different tempos to their shots. When I say that, what I mean is, like, Roman Dolidze is throwing the same jab leg kick, or he's throwing the same... If you watch the Roman Dolidze versus Marvin Vettori fight, it's the same jab, or it's the same hook, and then come around the other side with a backhand. No timing change, no shot change, it's all the same thing. Whereas, if you look at the way that Strickland fights, sometimes, especially against Israel Adesanya, he did a really good job of this, where he would jab and then follow straight away with the two, or he would jab and then follow straight away with the second one, or he would do a jab, follow up the two, and then a straight right hand, and then not an overhand, and then a hook around the side with the lead hand. Like, he does... If he does throw in the combination, if he does throw more than one shot at a time, he does a really good job of changing up the rhythm. Like, when you watch Anthony Hernandez fight, it's all the same thing. It's all jab, straight, leg kick, shoot a takedown. It's always the same thing. And it's always like bang, bang, bang. Whereas if you see a Sean Strickland combination, like especially, let's say, the one that dropped Israel Adesanya, he'd been going with a jab, straight. And then the one time that he catches Adesanya, it's like a jab straight, bang, bang, straight one after the other. And then the thing is that if he's doing that against Anthony Hernandez, that's not a thing that Hernandez has faced over any of his opponents throughout his entire career. And that's a pretty difficult thing to come up against, especially when you don't have the power to shut Sean Strickland out. For guys like, let's say, Alex Pereira, who's just below the screen here, Alex Pereira, he seemed to have no problems with that. He's got the elite level striking and he's got the power to just knock you out cold. And the same thing with Jared Cannonier. He did struggle with it in moments because he's not got the same level of striking as Alex Pereira. But he was also just able to walk through and he was able to deal with the difference of the timing. He was taking his head off the center line, throwing the overhand over the top. And he was just pushing back Sean Strickland so that timing was harder for him to catch there. Harder for him to catch him in between beats. Now, when he had success with it was against guys like Nassourdine Imavov, who at the time was about 26, 27 years old. And that was on short notice as well, and you kind of have to prepare for Sean Strickland to be able to defeat him. And then against Israel Adesanya, he can deal with those guys. Like Robert Whittaker's the one that has that difference of timing that he can change up. But Israel Adesanya couldn't deal with Sean Strickland's version of it because of his boxing defense. And I think that that's going to be a problem here for Anthony Hernandez. Now, another thing that Sean Strickland really needs to do, he needs to add a body shot to his game here, because we all know how soft body Anthony Hernandez is, and you know, not to be that guy, but you know these guys that are coming out of Mexico, they have that sort of Mexico build where they've got the unlimited cardio, but they've got that little bit of a fluffy build, as the name says for Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. You know when a guy's coming out like that he's going to be soft-bodied. And we've seen from Anthony Hernandez that he absolutely is soft-bodied. Now, I think that Sean Strickland needs to add, like, straight to the body, whether it's just throwing it to the chest and the solar plexus. He needs something else. He's not going to win this with just the jab and the leg kicks and the teep. That ain't going to work. And now, talking about the leg kicks, he needs to add that in very early. Some fights, he just doesn't throw it. He needs this inside low kick. Hernandez is so heavy on his front leg, does a terrible job of checking kicks as well. And now, even if he does get a couple of checks on Sean Strickland, it's not going to do anything to Strickland. Strickland's too good with the leg kicks there. You see, he never really gets phased by getting caught with those. And with Hernandez, if he's constantly getting caught with the leg kicks, he's not going to have as much drive in his takedowns. He's not going to have as much drive in his straight right hand. And then his boxing is going to get even weaker, and Sean Strickland's going to be able to walk him down and beat him to a pulp if he can take away that lead leg. Now, for Hernandez, there's a lot of things he can do in this matchup to really make it easier for himself. Like, he needs to, this is a bit of a hard one. He needs to focus on just keep going forward. Strickland's a different fighter when he's going backwards, and you know that from seeing the DDP fights, especially that second one where he just didn't accept Sean Strickland coming forward. And Anthony Hernandez, what he's had to have been focusing on is slipping outside the jab or slipping inside the jab and switching between them, because if he does not start slipping the jab, his face is going to get busted up really fast. And with the amount of sting that he has on his shots, he's not going to be able to win back that war like a DDP could, where in the first fight he was getting stung with the jab, but he was able to claw his way back into the fight just with his own brute force and brutality and takedowns. Anthony Hernandez has those same takedowns and even better versions of them, but he doesn't have the sort of sting that's going to start keeping Sean Strickland honest if he's getting the takedown of the takedowns. The takedown of the takedowns. The timing of the takedowns. Now, it is an easier job said than done to be able to slip this jab of Sean Strickland and come around the side with something else, but if he can't do that, it's a wraps either way. He's not going to get it done. Now, he also needs to get respect with his hands here. If he's not getting Sean Strickland moving backwards, he's not winning the fight either way. And now when he gets Sean Strickland down, which is going to happen in the fight, he has to expect Sean Strickland's going to be able to get straight back up. Strickland does a very good job of that time and time again. We saw that in the Drickus fights where he would get blast double leg taken down, and then he would be popping back up seconds later. Now, what Anthony Hernandez needs to focus on, he needs to focus on finding the cradle from that position, getting the seatbelt grip as well, and just focusing on keeping Strickland down there for just a couple of extra seconds. If it's that either that's every time or getting a mat return from that. He needs something like that just so Sean Strickland can't just get a rhythm on him and just so he has to worry about those takedowns. Maybe once Strickland, he does a very good job of getting up from the cage, Anthony Hernandez should try and kick the legs out, go for a trip and a sweep, try and mat return him there. Maybe pull him down, sort of like a Pantoja did to Kai Kara France and regain the back position. That would be something that he could do there. But what he needs to focus on is making sure that he's grinding away at Sean, because Sean does a great job of popping back up, breaking the grips, getting back at range. And if he's constantly doing that against Anthony Hernandez, no matter the unlimited cardio, it's going to start working out well for Strickland. Strickland's going to be able to start getting the timing the more he can get the takedowns defended, and he's going to stop fearing the takedowns of Anthony Hernandez if he's instantly popping right back up each time. So Hernandez really needs to focus on that. And honestly, for Hernandez, I would never suggest this because I hate fighters who do this. But if he wants to win, he's got to sort of like stink it up from the cage there. Once Sean Strickland gets back up from a takedown, he needs to get him up against the cage, knee against the thigh, stink it up from there. Focus on a lot of those boring things. He needs a lot of the knees to the thigh. He needs the rabbit punches up against the cage. And if he stays on the feet, he's going to get steamrolled. So he has to focus on those clinch positions there. Not even if he can... Obviously, I'm not calling for him to like stink it up and make it boring. I already find some of his fights boring enough. But... no, that's a lie. He's always moving around. But I don't usually suggest that, but especially if he can get some Andreas Gustafsson game coming along here, where he's kneeing the body hard and where he's getting the elbows off up against the clinch. If he can do that against Strickland, he's going to have an easy time out, and he could even have a chance of submitting him, but I don't know if I see that. How I actually think it is going to play out, though. Early on, I think that Strickland is going to start very, very fast. No, that's a lie. I just said that because I'm changing my screen. I think that... it was literally the opposite. I think Strickland's going to start as he usually does. It's not going to be too fast, not too slow. He's going to land a lot of jabs early, not going to follow up with any twos. He's going to land some teeps as well at range. I think round one's likely going to be a very close round, but I could see Hernandez stealing it at the end of the round, doing a little bit with the grappling, maybe taking him down 2 or 3 times where Strickland gets right back up. But I think he's going to have more big moments in the round. Maybe he lands one big shot on Strickland, and maybe he takes Strickland down at the end of the round or gets him up against the cage and lands some good shots. I think he's smarter with actually winning rounds. Strickland's very good at sneakily winning rounds, but Hernandez wins rounds consistently, especially close ones. Strickland doesn't win close rounds. So round 1, I think, will go to Hernandez. Round 2 and 3, though, I think that Strickland will start picking up. I think he's going to beat up on Hernandez in moments. Maybe briefly hurting him to the body with a teep, making him like scarper around the cage, looking like a bit of a victim at moments. And I could see Sean Strickland landing like 3-piece combinations, actually following up with an uppercut at the end, digging in, landing some, maybe getting a cut or 2 on the eyebrow of Anthony Hernandez there, maybe swelling up the other eye as well. I think he's going to put some damage on Hernandez in rounds 2 and 3. I don't think Hernandez is going to have too much for him in those earlier rounds where Strickland's a bit more dry. He's going to have loaded in after the first round. Those second and third rounds, they're going to be pivotal. Strickland has to win those if he even has a chance of winning the fight. because he usually loses a first round, and if it's not against Israel Adesanya, or he doesn't usually lose a first round, but I could see him losing the first round against a grappler. Now, in the fourth and fifth rounds, I think that Hernandez is going to have some swelling on his face from the second and third, but I think he's going to be a bit less tired than Sean Strickland. And even though neither of them have like massive KO power, I think the tiredness is going to show from Sean Strickland will take longer and longer each time to get back up. And I think that Hernandez, he's going to turn the pace up to 1,000. And even though both of them have great cardio, and I don't think that Sean Strickland's going to just get like pace mogged and then start getting like smoked in the fourth round like Dolidze did, where he just gets bully choked and dragged across the octagon. I think that Strickland is going to have some success in those rounds, land some good shots in those rounds. But I could see Hernandez spending a lot of the time smudging, stalling, kneeing to the thigh, doing some mat returns. And I think that Strickland's going to find it too tough to work his way back into the fight and win a round in those last two rounds. And I think that Hernandez is going to be able to win a 48-47 decision based on the first, fourth, and fifth rounds. I think it's going to be razor close. People are going to be talking about Strickland having like a decent... people are going to be talking about Hernandez having no chance against Hamza. And I think that Strickland people are going to be talking about it like it was a robbery, similar to the Dricus fight. But I think that this one's going to be quite similar to that Dricus fight, minus the big shots, but plus a little bit more control and takedowns. And control when he does get the takedowns. I think that Hernandez will use that seatbelt grip well. He's going to be able to use the cradle as well. I think he was using that against Roman Dolidze, and that's going to stop Sean Strickland from being able to get back up as easy as he usually does. Now, I could see Strickland getting it done, but I just think that Hernandez will have his number in this one, especially as Strickland that's already faced the title shots. He's already lost 2 title shots. He's already had the belt, beaten one of the greatest of all time in the division. He's already been there and done that. He's 34 years old. I've heard his interview with who's the insufferable ESPN guy that just like says a statement and pretends it's a question. Brett Okamoto. I watched his interview with Brett Okamoto. It was insufferable like usual, but I could see there that he doesn't have the same hunger. When he first lost the belt, he was like needing to get it back. And then after a while, he was like, here's the thing, guys. I just don't really care about the belt anymore, you guys. Like, I'm just a fucking guy. I want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like, he obviously wasn't saying that last part, but he was sort of just like bit indifferent about whether or not he will be able to get back to the belt, and he didn't really care if he did. So I think Hernandez is going to be hungrier, and he's going to outwork him in those last 2 rounds. I think it looks a little bit like the Reina de Ritter versus Robert Whittaker fight, except I think that Strickland's going to look less of a victim like Robert Whittaker did in moments, and I don't think Anthony Hernandez is getting dropped and almost slept out cold like RDR did. So let me know what you think is going to happen in the fight below. Who do you think will win? If you enjoyed the video, let me know what you want coming up next. I'm trying to get more active. I've been super inactive with changes of jobs and stuff like that. There's no excuse. I'm just a lazy guy. But I'm going to get back into it. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.